Welcome to Heavy Muscle Radio on TV. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this, I think we're September 25th already, 2017. Chris, can you imagine? We're going in, it's the fall already. What do you guys have, winter jackets on up there in Maine already?
No, we have two record-breaking days in a row. It's 88 today, 91 yesterday.
Wow. Okay, well.
But there's no global warming. So the Category 5 hurricanes that are blowing everywhere, those are just an anomaly.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was 91 here yesterday, Dave. 91, 88 at night.
That's crazy.
88 tomorrow.
We have to send a prayer out to the all the people in Puerto Rico. Johnny's relatives are there, and they got hit with that Category 5 hurricane. What a crazy. Johnny, they're going to be out of power for what, months, they say, right? I mean, we were complaining about 3 days here. Can you imagine months? Some places, Johnny said, it'll be a year. Unfathomable. It's crazy what went down there. But we have a lot to talk about, Chris, today. A lot went on this past weekend, even without us. Isn't it amazing? We can go to no shows and stuff still happens in the industry. It's amazing. This is the first year you haven't been out in Europe after the Olympia.
No, I haven't been out, and it's funny. There's more action happening in the last 14 days in the bodybuilding world than's happened in probably the last 48 months. Yeah. Between organizations splitting, he said, she said, death threats, phony reporting. I mean, you name it.
It's called punctuated. It's the punctuated equilibrium theory, meaning that they think that evolution doesn't occur in a very gradual way. It occurs in big spurts and then long periods of stasis and nothing happens. And I think that's how the bodybuilding world seems to work. Nothing happens for a long time, and then all of a sudden, huge change, and then everyone tries to accommodate this change, and that seems to be what's happening this past week between the Ifbb Pro League getting rid of the Ifbb Amateur League and instituting the NPC throughout the not only the USA, but all over the world. We're going to see next year NPC and NPC affiliates sanctioning, or I guess you could say creating new pros. The Ifbb Amateur League will go its own way, headed by Rafael Santoja, and I think they're starting something called the Ifbb Elite League. So a lot happening. Now this year in 2017, all pro card winners at any Ifbb show around the world will still be eligible for pro status in the Ifbb Pro League for next year. But starting next year, the Ifbb Amateur League will no longer be the feeder league for the Ifbb Pro League. It will be the NPC or an affiliate in other countries. And that was the big announcement that Jim Manion made. It was supposed to be made at the Olympia, but it was made after the Olympia just so that they wouldn't create too much controversy there. And it's interesting because then I saw Rafael Santoja went and fired Jim Manion as the vice president of the Ifbb Amateur League when...
Well, we talked about that. We talked about that when
Jim had resigned the week before, so it was kind of hard to fire him, I guess.
I told you that was when all the business CEOs quit Trump's business panel. Then there was like two left, and he said, "Wait a minute, we're disbanding it," and essentially you fired. So he wanted to one up him. That's what Rafael wanted to one up.
Yeah.
Jim. Just as Trump didn't want to have the embarrassment of having everyone quit.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is that Rafael Santoja ran the show, the Arnold Europe, this past weekend. It was his show. He does it with Arnold, and all the people who won their pro cards theoretically, will still be honored by Jim Manion. So Jim Manion is honoring any pro cards that are won this year in 2017, no matter what organization you're in. So that's cool.
It's putting the cart before the horse, but we got the Arnold Ohio right around the corner.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the Arnold Ohio with, the Phil Heaths and Ramy, or is it going to be the new league with the Arnold Ohio and, people we don't know?
It's a good question. We'll have to see who Arnold decides to go with. I suspect it will be with Jim Manion, but who knows? Arnold has been has known Rafael Santoja probably for many, many years. It's crazy when you get these things, but there was a lot of corruption going on. And Rafael, I guess his policy was that whatever Ifbb amateur shows were run throughout the world, the Ifbb Amateur League got 50% of the application fees, not just the cards that you have to join the Ifbb, but I'm talking about if you're a promoter and you collect entry fees, he got half of that. So that's a lot of money to take, from a promoter, who has to still buy trophies and get the venue and do all this other stuff. So I think for the promoters, it's going to be a tremendous, opportunity to make a lot more money. Think about Tony Doherty, who brings in probably over almost $150,000 in entry fees for the Arnold Australia. He had to give half that to Raphael, so that cuts into his profits and into his ability to really, put on a good show, especially since he's got to give prize money away to the open guys. So I think that aspect was undesirable, and I think that there was always, conflict there to begin with. And, I think it might be better for the sport. I think the sport's going to grow from this. I think it's a good move. I think that both leagues will be able to maintain themselves because Raphael does have a strong foothold in the European countries over there. And, all the best to everyone. But I think as far as the Ifbb Pro League and the NPC is concerned, the organizations that we cover, I think it's going to be terrific moving forward. So I'm excited about that. What else did I want to mention about that? Nothing will change in the U.S., so no one in the United States has to worry about anything. There will be no change whatsoever. If anything, just the NPC will be sanctioning the North American Championships now, where it used to be an IFBB North American Championship. So that will be an NPC North American Championships now. But nothing else in the U.S. will change. As far as Canada is concerned, I know there's two kind of governing bodies up there. It's a little fragmented. I do know that Ron Haish will be over in Toronto. There will be, obviously NPC affiliated. I don't know about the other part of the country over there. I know Bob Ciccarello is going to be running a couple of amateur shows, NPC amateur shows in England next year. So everyone's already getting their claws into their various areas there. Maybe Chris, maybe you and I could hold the NPC Antarctica show.
I don't even have the time to Skype into you, let alone on a timely basis.
We could. What do you think we'd have to pay Dexter to get out to Antarctica to compete?
Oh boy, I don't know. Dexter, who knows? That was interesting. Dexter was not in Spain.
Well, we'd have to get Dexter to Antarctica because it's the only continent he hasn't won a pro show on, right?
He might have won like a bantam show there or something. NPC bantamweight. Can you imagine Dexter there's not many interviews around with Dexter when he was a bantam and a lightweight. Can you imagine?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to remember. This is going to date me, but I remember when I was competing in '95. I did the junior nationals and I won the heavyweight class, and I was on ESPN and they covered the show and I demonstrated the poses, and it was like the highlight of my life, right? Dexter, I believe it was '95 or '96. He did the Southern States and he won the overall.
I remember.
I think he was a lightweight. And he won the overall, and he looked fucking incredible. And they were saying, this guy has got to go far, and I think they might have even interviewed him too. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder. And I'm thinking, this guy's a lightweight. Where's he going to compete? But he continued to get better and better and better. And most people don't realize he turned pro at the North American. He won that overall. He was a light heavyweight, but he had to weigh about 182 pounds. He couldn't have been any more.
He almost passed out for it, right? There's a story. I forget,
He was the smallest light heavyweight of all time.
And he was the freaky, that was, I think, the first show that people were really dazzled with his conditioning, because it was a show, I thought he might have passed out or something, was dehydrated. I just know that he was beyond peeled for that show, beyond for that.
I'll tell you another story. The first time I ever spoke to Dexter Jackson was, I remember at the '95 USA, he won his class. Also, 182 pounds in light heavyweight. But at the time, you had to win the overall to get the pro card. So he didn't get it. So he went.
He should have won. I was there.
He did the North America. He did the nationals in Louisiana. It was in New Orleans, and I remember he didn't make the top 15.
He didn't make the top 15 because
I don't know if
I was there, Dave. I was there. And I literally said, I was there, and I said, what about the guy, I couldn't remember his name, who won the USA, because I thought he should have won the USA, and of course, Phil Herndon did, who looked great, and Titus threw his trophy into the audience.
Yeah, I was there.
And you could have easily made an argument for Dex to win, and people say, oh, he's too small, and I thought, he's smaller than Phil, who's a mass monster, but he looked crazy. Yeah. And then at that Nationals, Dave, someone said, the guy who won the USA didn't make the cut, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how could he have ever been off? And then people were like, no, he was like 100% on the money. It was like one of these shows that he was literally, misplaced. Like they didn't see him.
Yeah, he was peeled to the bone. And I remember he came back. He was walking dejectedly off into the I guess it was where the booths were all set up. And I went up to him, and I never had said a word to him. I said, look, I just want to tell you, you looked amazing, and you will be a great pro bodybuilder one day. I said, I don't know what they were looking at, but, and I was a pretty big, I was like 300 pounds at that point, so, I looked like I belonged, I hadn't won anything except for the junior nationals at that point, but I look like I belonged. And he was so happy. He's like, man, he goes, I was ready to quit. I said, quit? I said, you're just getting started, man. And was I ever right? Was he just getting started?
I wish I could be in a time machine. I was in the bathroom and told him it's impossible. I don't care how, quote, off you are, that you can't place at the worst top 5 in the show. Right. But I would have told him to quit, having known then what I know now, that he'd beat like half the guys that I prep for shows. So I would have told him, bro, you just don't have it. Quit while you're ahead.
The funny thing is that all the years of the 90s and early 2000s, Chris and I must have been at every show together, and we never said 3 words to each other.
Dave, I was thinking I was gonna bring that up. If you said you saw him in the bathroom, because I saw him right outside the bathroom. I remember what that pit looks like, and I have a terrible memory because I remember seeing his face, and I thought you were going to say you were outside the bathroom. I was going to say that would have put us within 5 feet of each other.
No, I was. I didn't see him in the bathroom. I saw him outside the bathroom by the booths. I'm telling you, you and I probably were crossing paths 1,000 times, and we never said one word to each other. Never said even hello. Ever.
It's crazy.
It was like, I was like that with Romano, too. I never said 2 words to him until we started working together at MD. But I saw him at all the shows. It was the weirdest thing. It's funny how you don't meet people till it's the right time, I guess. But anyway, getting back to what happened this past weekend. Obviously, Dexter was not in the Arnold Classic from this past weekend. I don't know why he wasn't. He probably should have been. He might have, who knows, he might have won the show. Yeah. But Big Ramy, pretty much we get the Olympia lineup minus Phil Heath, and we get the same results pretty much. Big Ramy wins with William Bonac in second, and Shawn Rhoden pulling a also night show victory there and finishing the 3rd position. Looking at the pictures, obviously we weren't there, and when I always clarify that when I wasn't there, I find it hard to really critique as hardly as I would do if I was there, like I was at the Olympia.
Yeah.
Big Ramy, better or worse than at the Olympia?
I think he was bigger here. He was bigger here, and because he was going against Bonac, there was something different looking than what he brought to the Olympia. You know what I mean? So
I say he's worse.
I mean, condition. I said bigger. I didn't say better condition. Yeah. I thought his condition was marginal here.
Yeah, I thought from behind he was very soft.
I think I sent you pictures from the show last year in Spain, right? I mean, I know people say, Chris, can he shut up? Well, it's to give context. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like me and Ramy don't speak, even though I'm not supposed to speak with him.
Should Bonac have won this show?
I wasn't there. Bonac had enough roundness and density and definition that had he won, we would be talking about his roundness, his density, and his definition, and we would have said that Ramy's off. So that's the Monday morning quarterbackness of it all, is that we sometimes, judge a show based on how it turned out. Is Bonac good enough to win that show? Absolutely. I mean, Dave, you and I did the wrap-up.
Yeah.
And Chad and Samir, kind of a reputable group, I guess. We don't watch phones from our iPhones. We watch them in person. We kind of have a little bit of history of success in the sport. And, a lot of people were like, oh, Chris, you said that, Bonac should be second at the Olympia. This was after prejudging.
I'm looking at the double bicep from behind of all these guys, and if we can zoom in.
Dave, let me just say this. Let me finish the thought, please. Is that I had Bonac at second at the prejudging at the Olympia, and that's actually how it panned out in the scorecards.
Right.
So it's not like I was talking out of left field. So since I wasn't talking out of left field there, in terms of this show, Bonac was pretty consistent with where he looked at the Olympia, and Ramy was rounder, which is dangerous because it throws off his front double bicep, as you can see. And on the back double, when he's rounder and bigger, you know, he don't have the detail, although he has a ton of mass everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, I put up a picture of Ramy from 2013 when he won that New York Pro that first year, back double bicep, and I put up a comparison back double bicep on my Instagram of Big Ramy from this year's Olympia, and I said, what do you guys think? And, well, I mean, if you look at the picture, I mean, if Johnny can find it, Ramy clearly is better in 2000, from behind at least, he's clearly better in 2013. He's got more detail. He looks just as big to me.
Well, yeah.
I mean, how do you know, obviously if you want to look at pictures from last year, he was freaking peeled out of his mind when you were helping him as well. And you know, I'm not just saying that, Chris, because you work with him, because I could give a shit. If Shawn Rhoden looked like a pile of dog shit at the Olympia. You know, you and I both know that at the pre-judging, and we're not saying, oh, he was good because Chris worked with him. He wasn't all, he was off. He was good at the night show. He was off at the pre-judging. We call it like we see it. I mean, Ramy is, has he lost detail in his body, or I mean, what do you think's going on?
Dave, I don't know if I sent Johnny the pictures from all of them, you know, from 16 to 17, not to pick on him, but to pick on him, because that's what I do. Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, you need to have an open mind as a competitor and as a prep coach to be able to evaluate, you know, with a clear mind, without bias, you know, where your progress is and where it isn't, and, you know, how your body's changed and how it hasn't changed. With regard to, you know, he's clearly rounder this year at the Olympia. You know, it was a different lineup, but he was pretty peeled last year. And it may have been because he's pretty peeled last year, more effective this year, ironically, even though, quote, flatter last year. I mean, you see him super round here in Spain, but I sent you the Spain pictures. Johnny, I don't know if you have those. Like, I sound like you know, if you posted those up. But, you know, you can see that he was actually rounder last year with more detail than this year. But I want to say this, Dave. I will 100% say this. Did the people who prep Ramy make a bad decision? No, absolutely not. I would guarantee I would have made the same decision. In other words, this. You know, Ramy had his little run last year, which means, you know, he's flat in prejudging but super detailed. You know, far, far, far more detailed than this year. By the night show, you know, rounder and tight. By Spain and all the shows, tighter than he brought. All those shows, he's tighter last year than this year. But if we were doing it all over again for this year, I would have been like this, probably. You know what? I know last year, you know, he was crazy detailed. Maybe this year, if he comes in rounder, bigger, it'll be, you know, a better look for him. So, you know, we could have been talking today, September 25th, about, Chris, why'd you bring him in so big this year? What are you showing, Johnny? Last year's?
Yeah.
That's the 2001 Jay Cutler look right there.
Yep.
That's the ghost. That's the Jay will tell you 2001 was so astounding that anything not exactly looking like that, people will say, oh, better in 2001. You know, 2003 Arnold, Jay will claim it to be his best. I do too. But people will say, oh, you're a little bit more peeled in 2001. You know, then you chase it, then you try to chase the peeled look and they say, oh, peeled, but you were fuller last year. And that's the burden of being such a great bodybuilder. You know, it's Phil's burden, it's Flex's burden, and it's Ramy's burden, and it's Jay's burden. It's like we expect so much. Look, and it creates a lot of pressure. And, you know, Beta was the one who said maybe Ramy's not mentally ready for the Olympia. That's his quote.
Well, you know what
it creates a lot of mental pressure on the competitor.
Yeah.
And that's why I always take my hat off to Phil, because he delivers the goods under enormous amounts of pressure.
Yeah, well, people said to me, you know, oh, you put that up because you're trying to put Bader down. I said, no, Bader actually prepped Ramy in 2013.
No.
So we were basically comparing Bader's 2013 to Bader's 2017 at the Olympia. And I don't know, I think that the point is that Ramy looks better with more detail. And I think that I have a sense, and I don't agree with what Bader said mentality-wise. I think that Ramy is very strong. He looks very comfortable on stage now. He executes his poses. He's not intimidated by anyone. I feel he will be Mr. Olympia, and I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I think he's right on the cusp at this point. I think the great thing about Ramy is that his fate is in his own hands now. I think that it's a matter of bring it in. And so I saw Samir posted on, Samir Banut, Mr. Olympia, posted on Facebook a picture of this Hadi Chopin guy in the 212 division from Iran. We're going to talk about him in a minute from the Asian Grand Prix. But he said, look at the detail, look at the pop on his physique. This is what Ramy needs to bring to the stage. And if he does, no one will beat him at the Olympia. And I agree. I think we haven't seen Ramy yet at his best conditioning-wise. And when we do, and we see the cross-striated pecs and all the nuttiness going on, I think then we're going to see a Mr. Olympia. But I think that Ramy's close. I think he's closing in on where he needs to be. I think being confident on stage was an important aspect of the equation that he didn't have, and I think he's very confident now on stage. I feel like he feels he belongs up there. I think it's a good idea that he's doing all these Grand Prix because it's giving him the ability to practice being on stage, and that's important. And a lot of people don't understand that. Being comfortable on that stage is just as important as looking good. Because Chris, as well as I do, that winning the Olympia, to win the Olympia, you got to have everything. You got to have presentation, you got to have confidence, you have to have the physique, and you have to be in shape.
Well, dude, listen. You go back to the Olympia. I didn't watch it from 95 rows back, and I didn't watch it from a computer screen. I watched it in real life, and technically I should be a Phil Heath hater.
Yeah.
But to summarize what you said is when Phil came out for his routine, he had the only blasting, extremely exciting, well choreographed routine for his own physique, knew how to show it off. And I thought, right when he came out with his routine, I said, gosh, that was impressive. Meaning he showed his physique.
Yeah.
He was ridiculously confident. He looked like 290 up there.
Yeah.
The way he presents it, I think he's probably him and Dexter present their physique the best. You know what I mean? They really know how to
Well, Phil is no Flex Wheeler. He's no performer like Melvin Anthony.
He's a Mayweather. He's 49-0, bro.
He's an aggressive poser who makes sure that he knows what he's going to do before he gets out there, so he's confident. And I think that's cool. Everyone has their own style. I couldn't pose like Melvin Anthony, so I would just do funny stuff out there. But I did funny stuff that fit my physique as a mass monster. I think Phil knows his physique and he knows where he looks the poses he looks the best in, and he takes advantage of that and exploits that. And I think Ramy is starting to exploit that too. You remember? I don't know if you remember. I used to make fun of him. Ramy used to come out and pose to rap music. Like he was a rapper. I've seen him even guest pose with his hat on backwards. Now, that's fine if you like rap music, but you don't have a rap physique. He has a heroic, crazy-looking monster Conan the Barbarian physique. So you got to pose to that kind of music, Otherwise, the audience won't get into it.
I just watched Phil's. Is that what you see it on the screen? Yeah. Phil's routine.
Yes.
How many? I just saw 11 poses, and I don't see quote a gut anywhere.
Yeah, the only thing he's got that's a little distracting to me is that little umbilical hernia, which I'm sure he'll be getting fixed in this off season. So, and a lot of bodybuilders have had it done. Kai Green had it fixed. I had it fixed. I know there's a lot of guys who have had Dennis Wolf. Probably Ramy had one. Didn't he have one fixed also?
Yeah, he had one too last year.
So I mean, it is what it is. I enjoy seeing these kind of rematches on the following weekend after the Olympia because it kind of adds a little more fuel to the fire. Since you have kind of a personal take on what happened in terms of Shawn Rhoden, tell me what you did with Shawn Rhoden and why he did so poorly at the prejudging and so well at the night show in Europe.
You mean at the Olympia? How he did poorly in the night?
at the Arnold Europe.
I think he was just, flat in prejudging, and that's it. And you know what? He was a little bit fuller for the night show, which is only 2 hours later. And, and that made his true detail come out on that structure. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at pictures, you can clearly see he's flat in prejudging, and then some comparisons at night, or 3 hours later, he looks, much better. And, sometimes for people like that, that's the time frame it takes. I mean, don't forget, Kai Green came back from that, and, that Arnold in 5 hours, and looked like a radically different person, same day show. So this is a same day show.
Right.
And, he looked radically, he looked different for the night show. Different enough to snag third.
Now, moving forward with Shawn Rhoden, what do you do? Does he take the year off again and shoot for the Olympia, or is he going to do the Arnold Classic?
Probably a good idea to, I don't even know. Isn't that funny? I don't even know. You could say take the year off and try to make improvements, or you could say run into the Arnold. That said, he legitimately prepped in total. He legitimately prepped for the Olympia, including off season, probably 14 weeks.
I know you told me he was.
Having said that, there's no excuse because he did look dynamite coming into the last 6-7 days coming into the show. He looked full. He looked round.
Well, Chris, the judges had him first at the night show at the Arnold.
No, I think they had him. I think they had him first in the posing routine.
Oh,
and then they.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I checked, but they had him third. He was third in the night show, and then
that's a third. But that is a third of his score, the posing round.
Well, they have the pose down too. Where they do that final comparison. He was third.
Yeah.
Roelly was fourth. Nathan was fifth. I mean, Johnny's got that little video up. He's pretty damn sharp there.
Yeah, no, he looks great. He looks great.
He's really, if you take that look right there that he's got, the detail, he's not carbs away from moving up in that. He just needs a little bit more muscle to get by like Bonac but I mean, if you look at his detail there versus Ramy's, I mean, they're two totally different animals, but he needs more mass right now to challenge, those first and second place.
Is it reasonable at his age to expect that Rhoden could put on that size and make those improvements, or are we just going to continue to see, this? I mean, he's got a great look. I mean, let's face it, Dexter will tell you he's growing too, but I don't think he's added any size significantly. I think at this stage, guys in their 40s are lucky to maintain what they have.
Yeah. It's hard to say, because he's got a young body like Dexter.
Yeah.
He doesn't have injuries. That's another benefit. He's got a new trainer. They train basic, hard, and heavy. Mm-hmm. But, he didn't have an off-season at all, which, I don't know, sometimes not having off-seasons really is beneficial too, ironically, I mean, Eduardo Correa, 2014, he had no off-season really at all either because of his torn tricep, and he came back and looked his best ever. So,
right, but he had to make a weight class. Shawn Rhoden's in the open. So
yeah, true. And
he probably needs an off season.
And he's in his early, he's probably 33 at the time, 32.
Let's talk. I just want to mention the men's physique division was won by Andrei Komostak from Czech Republic. So that they had a men's physique and the men's open here. So I wanted to just mention that. Now, Chris, there's also another show simultaneously occurring in Asia, the Asian Grand Prix, which took place in Seoul, South Korea. And people are like, oh, you should go there. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not, my flights around the world are limited these days. But this is like kind of their Olympia there, because you got to remember, they don't have big, huge pro shows there. So to bring the 212 guys there, that's their Olympia. And obviously Flex Lewis made a commitment. He showed up. Jose was there. And then this Hadi Chopin guy, who was, if you're looking at the picture, he's the second from the left. He's from Iran.
Who'd you say? Who?
Hadi Chopin. Isn't that
Hadi. You're confusing with Hanny Rimbaud.
No. I said Hadi. And,
Hadi.
King Kamali had been telling us about this guy, because King Kamali being Persian himself, and obviously Hadi being from Iran as well. Kamali's been telling me about him for quite a while. Watch out for this guy. He couldn't get a visa to the United States thanks to Donald Trump, so he couldn't be in the Olympia. But this was kind of his Olympia. He was prepping for this, and there were pictures released right after the show, and there were only 4 of them. and that were circulating, the same 4, and we'll put them up on the screen. I'm sure Johnny will have them up there. And, you know, from the pictures, you know, people were saying, Flex got destroyed, Hottie, the champion, you know, and obviously when the placings came out, Flex won, Hottie was second, and Jose was third. Obviously, we weren't there. We weren't sitting in that front row. I've talked to people, okay, who are there, okay. I've seen, you know, other pictures. I don't know if we could find them and put them up. I'm working on getting a video up. I don't think Flex Lewis was quite as bad as people were painting him out to be here. And I'm sure by Flex's own admission, he was a little flat, you know, from the flight. But, you know, you can't judge a show from pictures. And I've said that before. I'll say it again. But it seemed like everyone went from being a Flex Lewis fan at the Olympia, and everyone was ready to throw him under the bus, okay? As soon as they, you know, saw these pictures come out and they said, you suck, you're a terrible champion. He was getting death threats from people theoretically from Iran, okay? We're barraging his social media. All the so-called self-proclaimed press people out there, like the Louis Marcos of the world, were already putting out videos saying, Flex sucked, you know, this Hottie guy destroyed him, the judging sucks. Everyone was jumping all over this, just having seen 4 pictures. Now, once again, you and I like to call it like it is, but we don't judge a show by 4 pictures.
Well, does that inhibit me or prohibit me from making a comment? Because
No, you can say whatever you want.
In row 10?
You can say whatever you want.
I mean, I'll preface it with this, is, you know, I'll go back to the Olympia. You know, I thought Phil Heath was, like, on the money, and some of that detail and roundness does not show up in pictures, you know, as opposed to being there. When I just look at the 4 pictures, you know, my first initial impression is that Flex looks flat here. And on the pictures, I would say, like, Jose's got the front double and the back double. I mean, I'm generally overly biased for people I help, but at the, you know, I can certainly step back and take criticism when someone doesn't look good, or make criticism of someone who I'm not helping doesn't look good, or praise them. I mean, so having said that, my personal opinion from what I've seen is that Flex was flat, and I thought Jose had a stupendous front double bicep, gnarly back double bicep, and then that the Iranian kid looked tremendous. The oddness I think Flex hasn't been pushed in pictures. I don't think Flex has been pushed like this since 2014, to give it a historical context. 2015, the very last call out of prejudging. Dave, you sat next to me. We thought it was a runaway with, initially, when they came up by themselves, a runaway with Flex winning. And then I said, let's just see them together. And when we put them together, I thought Jose could have won 2015 prejudging. 2014 was much different. It was an off Flex Lewis, who was sick at that time, standing next to Jose, but also standing next to prejudging to a mega conditioned, as was Jose, Eduardo Correa. So when you get 2 guys who are at their all-time best, with Flex in the middle not being at his best, the contrast suddenly changes a lot. And that was a show, 2014, everyone jumped off the Flex bandwagon and said, oh, you know, Flex, you know, blah, 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 you know, is not as good as we think. And then 2015, you know, he improved 2016. I thought he improved for 2017 here. So to give it the context of the 2-man, when you have Jose on one side and Hottie on the other, with Flex, say what you want, he was not full. And he really has to be full to be, you know, at his best. It's easy to take knocks at him. I do. And it's easy to be critical of him. I am. And that's part of the sport of bodybuilding, you know. So I'm giving you my analysis on what I see on the pictures. It looked like he was in the most amount of trouble at a minimum than he's ever been in since 2014. And I threw in that 2015 with Jose is because you can always say Jose versus Flex. After the smoke clears, you can say Jose had, more gnarly, grainy and this and that. And people do, well, but Flex has the shape and flow. But when he's, in the middle versus two people at their best, 2014, 2017 here at this show, and he's not at his best, like anyone else, you open yourself up to vulnerabilities, meaning, to critical criticism. Critical criticism meaning, genuine criticism.
Yeah.
So, I haven't seen like thousands of pictures from the show, but I can say Jose in certain poses looked like insane. And I thought this Hadi from, Iran was tremendous in the front lat spread, held his own in a lot of shots, tremendous in the back lat spread, tremendous in the most muscular. So he's tremendous in 3 shots. I got Jose tremendous on front double, back double, side chest. And you got the rest, you juxtapose that with Flex being good in all the shots, but not dominant in any one. You got to dominate in something. You know what I mean? It's like Phil. How many times have I been critical of Phil for like a prejudge? And not lately, though, not the last 2 years. But previous to that, how many times has Phil like a couple of times come in flat and prejudging, and then the night show popping, so he dominates 2 poses. Most muscular, no matter who he's standing next to. Maybe 3. Side chest and back double. Now he dominates the back lat spread.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you the intangible here. The intangible is watching Flex move from pose to pose, watching him basically control the stage. I couldn't see that. I haven't seen one video yet of the show.
Dave, I don't give people benefits of the doubts on the intangibles.
Look, I've done shows.
The bodybuilding is still built on tangibles. I mean, the intangible would be like, we can't decide, and the posing routine might ding it for us. But, I mean, how someone flicks a finger between poses and commands the stage. If you're in the center, because you're the champ, no criticism against Flex. But it is criticism. If you're in the center, of course you can command the stage.
My point is, though, how you execute poses and how you move and stand
Dave,
on stage.
I got a better critic. Let's put this critical.
You can't judge a show by looking at static poses up there in pictures. You know that because I know guys that have been in terrible shape. You look at pictures and they look amazing. Okay, I'm not saying anyone's in shape. I think that all 3. I think that Jose was in great shape. I think that Hadi was in great shape. Oh, Johnny found some footage. Okay, it's not a straight-on shot. I'm watching some video footage. Okay, if you look here, Flex looks a lot better. Okay, you could see in this video footage. I don't know where you got this shot. It was good video, good catch. And Flex looks a lot better.
Email it to me, Johnny.
At posing, and you can start to see, some more the detail that Flex has that some of these other guys don't have.
Dave,
the aesthetics as well.
I got my criticism of not Flex Lewis. You want to hear my real criticism?
What?
The criticism I have for these last 2 shows is about Jose Raymond. Okay. The criticism is that I thought he was second at the Olympia. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's opinion of a lot of people.
I agree with that opinion.
Well, let's put that aside. I consider myself a very good judge. I don't consider myself an incredible judge. That's why sometimes I ask people I respect, what do you think? I ask you all the time. I ask Weinberger all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When I can't make up my mind, I said, what do you think? He said, this guy's, Chris, he's soft in the hamstrings. You know that. And I said, well, okay. So I know what he was judging. We went on condition. Or, he's flat. This guy's flat. You were helping or something. Here's my point about the prejudging, all of it, and the night show at the Olympia. Biggest show of the year. Jose wins the night show. Ascanani wins the prejudging. Ascanani wins by a point. I don't know what the scores are, but Jose wins one part of the show, Ascanani another, and at no time are they standing next to each other, side by side. I go to a restaurant, I can't even order a chicken burger over a hamburger because I have to ask the waitress, 10,000 times, and if they have pictures, I want to look at the pictures, and I'll even look at the food, meaning I want to be able to compare what I want to eat when I can't make the decision. And if the decision is that close, if you have people who are that close in a big show, they need to be stood next to each other so that we can say, you know what? I thought Jose was winning, but when they put Ascanani next to him, I changed my mind. Or I thought Ascanani was winning, but when they put Jose next to him, you could see the difference in condition. And the same thing should be true for Korea. I looked at the scorecards, and the scorecards, and Dave, always taken with a grain of salt, because I've had judges tell me this too. Chris, I had so-and-so in first place, but it took me a while. And don't just because so-and-so got, at the Nationals, all first place votes. I know the other judges were on the fence. It just happened that they got all first place votes, but it wasn't like a concrete, it took people a long time to make the decision. Going back to Korea, if you take Flex out of the show, Hadi is not standing next to Flex, Jose is not standing next to Hadi at any time. So you look at scorecards, and there's like a point or two. I think it's a point.
Well, here's the thing.
Wait,
let me comment on your point.
The point I'm making, Dave, is we're trying to, at top-level bodybuilding contests, not the Southeast Florida, trying to figure out who places where and who's the best, and they're not put directly next to each other. I'll go back to Dave, not to kill a horse. You can go, Ramy last year in prejudging was never next to Phil. It was only when he was next to Phil that you could see at the night show, wow. You know what I mean? There's something different in his physique in terms of width, size, volume. So you need to compare and contrast.
Yeah. Well,
that was not done.
Yeah.
So
well,
my criticism, before I criticize Flex Lewis, which I will criticize, I'm criticizing the process in which you figure out who else is getting second and third.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there should definitely have been comparisons to the Olympia. There should have been comparisons here in Korea. I don't know why they didn't do them. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not like they're in a rush. There wasn't that many guys in the Korean Grand Prix show where they had to go through 6,000 things. They could have done 4 million comparisons, and I'm sure the fans would have loved it. So I agree, and I'm not saying that I think Flex should have won the show, because I don't think it was the best Flex Lewis we've seen. I know he had some problems with filling up, and he was holding a lot of weight before he left the Olympia. Look, he could have backed out of the show, but he's a guy man of his word. He said he was going to be there. He knew the Korean people wanted to see him, and so he went and did it. He had nothing. All he could do was lose. He couldn't really win here. He was supposed to win. So I'm not saying that Hadi or Jose shouldn't have beat him, because they might have. I wasn't there. It looks. Flex doesn't look that great. Okay, he looks good in some poses, but he doesn't look great. And like you said, when he's flat, he has vulnerabilities. When I look at the scorecards and I see in the first round, Flex Lewis had 3 points, Hadi had 8 points, and Jose had 8 points. So Jose and Hadi were tied. Now in the finals at night, Flex had 3 points, Hadi had 8 points, and Jose had 9 points. Now I don't even know how that mathematically works out with the judges. Because they should have, if one had 8, the other guy should have had 8, because everyone was unanimous after that. So, in other words, there's only 2 other guys. Both other guys were 4th and 5th unanimously. So, I don't even know where this extra point Jose got was. It should have been a tie. Maybe it was a tie, and maybe the head judge broke it, which would be Sandy Williamson. So, I don't know. It seems that way, as though they were tied. But if it was that close and they were that, tied after prejudging and night show, why not put them next to each other in a call-out? And I don't know, maybe they did, because we haven't seen all the pictures. I don't know. But I will tell you one thing that I don't like, okay? Whether Flex deserved to win or not, look, we've seen decisions go, different ways that no one agreed with. He was the reigning Olympia champ. It seems like the reigning Olympia guy always gets a little bit of an extra nod when it comes to these shows. We know how this works. The point is that the fans of Hadi Chopin were very, very, very horrendously aggressive, nasty, anti-Semitic towards Flex. If anyone saw his social media, Flex has screenshots of it. They said they wanted to rape his wife. They said, you're a horrible champion. They said, fuck you. I mean, it was so bad that Flex had to actually turn his social media off while he was in Korea. Now, that type of unsportsmanship, that type of talk, that type of social media influx is very bad for the sport. Very bad. And you know what? I said this before, and I'm always getting crucified by the social media people, but not by the fans of the sport. But I don't like the social media. I don't like where it's going. I don't like the way people think that they could have that mob mentality of bullying people and saying, hey, this guy should have won. They're saying Phil Heath shouldn't have won the Olympia. I don't like it. And I don't like the fact that the social media, there's a level of social media guys out there on YouTube with their own channels who have no journalistic background other than they just watch stuff on their computer. They don't go to any shows. And people are taking them more serious, critique-wise, than the people who are sitting in the front row and who've been doing this for 25 years. And so to me, it's bad for the sport. It sends the wrong message. And I know Phil Heath got all in a tizzy about it, and he shouldn't have. But it's hard not to, because when you have 6,000 people, sending you messages on Instagram that you suck and that you shouldn't have won the show, it's annoying.
You know what, Dave? Hats off to Phil Heath, dude. I'm getting more respect for him every year. Hats off, because you know what? I said it like 2 weeks ago when the Olympia was over. I said, or I might have told Jay, Ronnie, Dorian, Haney, even Jay, they had the luxury of being Mr. Olympia in the WIDA era, where, it wasn't the social media era.
Right.
Which means this, if any one of those wins, if there was social media, people would be saying Dorian, negative, Haney, negative, Jay Cutler, Coleman, so it comes with the territory these days where people are enormously critical of you. And, here's Phil, ties Arnold's record, and people make it sound like he couldn't win the Florida and that his gut looks like Dumbo. And here's me sitting in like row 10, not even a fan of Phil on a personal level, Yeah. But I won't criticize, I kid about that because I try to criticize his physique. Have lots of people competing against him in the past. It's hard to criticize his physique in real life, unless he's flat. And here he is, Mr. Olympia, and people, what's he going to do? Just sit around and twiddle his thumbs and turn on his Instagram account in the morning, which, one criticism of people is you should never read what the hell's on your social media, because I never, ever do. Yeah. Never. People say, did you see one minute? I said, never read it. But he does read it, but hats off to him to say, you know what, fuck you. Yeah. You know what, I won the title. Because what's he going to do, sit around and...
Right, but
and
these
like
guys...
Nothing, like it's like people taunting you all day long. What are you going to just, sit around and just take it forever and say, well, I got to be a good spokesperson for the Ifbb and Mr. Olympia. The flip side of it is, screw it, I've worked my ass off to, yes, my genetics might be incredible. In other words, people criticize him for having good genetics, like anyone up there doesn't have good genetics. And, he shot back, and I respect him for that. Yeah, because a lot of people, Dave, don't have the balls to shoot back.
But you know what, Chris? A lot of these guys, Phil included, think that these social media, guys, and once again, I don't mean to be targeting Louis Marco. He has a good niche for himself in this place, but I'm saying it because Phil thought that he was his best friend. He sent him all these updates all the time, and then Louis Marco blasted him, on his YouTube channel, and then Phil got all bent out of shape about it, and then blasted him back.
Well,
guess what,
at least,
Chris?
The point is, he blasted him. At least he blasted him back.
The point is, these guys are not journalists. Why would you send your stuff to non-journalists if you want real integrity and
because
and
there's no such thing as journalism anymore, Dave.
Send it to me. Send it to Generation I. Send it to people that actually cover shows. Send it to Shawn Ray at least. Send your pictures to us. Give us your updates so that you get real journalistic, coverage. If you're going to send it to TMZ, good luck, because TMZ is going to run with the most sensationalistic story that they can. That's their job. That's Louis Marco's job, and that's nothing wrong with that. He serves a purpose. People love watching, gossipy shows. It's great. It's enjoyable. I like to read the tabloids when I check out at the supermarket counter. Okay, but that's not where I'm going to send my pictures or my updates if I'm Mr. Olympia, if I want to get, realistic, feedback from people that matter. And so I blame the people who are doing it. You know what? Flex Lewis always, he's under contract, obviously, with AMI, but he calls me up off the record, and just personally talks to me because, he's a good guy and he's a real champion. He understands that these social media guys don't mean anything in the scope of who he is and what his legacy will be defined as. So, it bothers me, but in a sense, I blame the bodybuilders too because they feed
I blame
into
the bodybuilders completely. Dude, if you're going to swim with the wrong people and they're going to do you wrong, shame on you. You should know better. You're a grown man. I guess Phil learned his lesson.
Yeah, I think he did.
Phil learned his lesson, and you know what? Phil Heath, as 6-time Mr. Olympia, does not need to be sending pictures to anyone.
No. Or if he's going to do it, send it to media organizations. Why he's sending it to people that theoretically could take it and use it against you, So it is what it is. Like I said, I think that
Well, for the record, I had Phil 9th because he had the Dumbo gut. 9th in the Olympia.
Yeah. I think that the social media has a place in our business, and I enjoy it too. We enjoy watching the Rich Pianas and the Boston Lloyds and all that stuff. That's enjoyable. But then there's also people, the sports commentators, the critiquers, the journalists. That's a separate aspect of the sport, and you got to keep them separate. Okay, otherwise the sport becomes a joke. And I think that's the problem. I think that we have to understand where there is a line. Now, I will not condone what was done to Flex Lewis at this show. I won't condone the hate that was put out there. I won't condone the threats that were put against his life and his wife's life. I mean, it was disgusting. And anyone out there who's listening to this, if you did that, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because you know what? You're actually making it worse for guys like you think you're supporting your guy Hadi Chopin. You're not. You're making it worse for him because you know what? Now people are associating him with that hate mongering, and that's not the case. So the bottom line is it was his first big pro show. He pushed the champion. Now the next show coming up, okay, will be a rematch. Okay, you can't be a sore loser about stuff like this. You have to basically sit down and say, hey, this guy's Mr. Olympia. If I got to beat Mr. Olympia, I'm gonna have to beat him soundly, and I'm gonna have to do it more than once. Okay, and it just didn't happen this past weekend, and it is what it is. Let's move on. If maybe Hadi will be Mr. Olympia next year, we don't know. But we got to. What?
What place did you have Flex, Dave?
I could have put him anywhere from first to third place. I wasn't there. From some pictures, I thought Jose and Hadi beat him. In other pictures, I thought he won. I saw some transition shots that he put on his Instagram, and he looks like he was the champion. So. I can't judge it. I wasn't there. If I was in the front row, I would be giving you a definitive.
No, I understand.
If you and I were sitting there, we'd be giving definitive answers to these questions: who deserved to win? But we're not because we weren't there.
I'm not defending Flex. It's a backhanded defense of him, and that's why I started out with when you asked me about Flex. I said let's talk about Phil because. All these phony pictures up of Phil here, Phil there. I mean, Phil looked pretty damn impressive at the Olympia, and more so than pictures. And I'm 12 rows back at the Olympia. It's pretty easy to make an assessment, and you can do it pretty quickly. And my assessment was 1, 2, 3. Bonac second, Ramy third. It's funny, that's how we assessed it after the prejudge, and that's how it turned out. But we were there.
Yeah.
But just based on those pictures, I think he was extremely vulnerable in that show. I think you could say he was lucky to escape.
Yeah.
But the flip side, is that I was not there. And you can't, I understand that intangible, and that's the only intangible. If I was there, I'd be
we'd be
holy shit. If I was there and I saw it, Jose, I'd be giving death threats to Neil Hill right now.
You know what, Chris? I'll tell you.
Sorry, Neil, I'm kidding.
Why was Hadi not allowed to compete at the Olympia? Do you know?
Hadi?
Yeah, why wasn't he at the Olympia?
Trump.
Donald Trump said we don't want people from Iran coming into this country, right? Why? Because they're all terrorists, right? Which we know.
They may. because
Trump.
they're part
Very
of Bush's
racist
axis
policy.
of evil.
So what do the Hadi Chopin fans do? All the supporters. They go online and they tell Flex Lewis that we're gonna kill you and we're gonna rape your wife. Okay? How does that make Trump look? Makes Trump look good. Makes him look like he's a smart fucking guy, not to let these people in the country. And you and I know that that's not the case. We know that all people are not like that, but when you do that and you act like that and you act immature and you make threats against people's lives and their families, okay, that doesn't bode well for your guy. So if you want to support your guy, don't act like the people that we don't want in this country, because that's going to make the situation worse, okay? Bodybuilding should be a blank slate, everyone equal. No race, no anything. Everything should be on an even playing field. When we act like this, like savages, okay, it doesn't do that. It casts a bad light on our sport. And you guys should be ashamed of yourself for doing that. And you know what? You're only hurting Hadi. We want Hadi in that Olympia. We want Hadi in that Arnold USA as much as any other competitor, because he's going to make it exciting for the bodybuilding world. We're nonpartisan here. Don't turn it into a political battle and make our president look right, because that's not what the intention is. And I had to say that, Chris, because it's despicable that people would threaten Flex Lewis's family like that and say such disgusting things to him. It nauseates me. And I know you feel the same way, because I know that you're probably the least racist person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I just hate Flex and Phil. I hate that one's black, one's white. I hate their winning streak. No, it's a point well taken, Dave, because it's could be considered a political point you just made, which is, it is a political point, and it's painting a horrible brush of people who support Hadi. Technically, I shouldn't like Askanani. What's not to like about this guy? Talk to him 3 seconds. He's the happiest, smiliest. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not going to say.
Jose would say the same thing. How can you not like this guy? Polite, happy, genuine. He beats Jose at the Olympia. All I can do is criticize the judging process. I need to see them next to each other. I don't say, even though I should for fun, go on Ashkenani's site and say I'm coming to Kuwait to put a pillow over your head while you're sleeping. You can't make things personal, and the sport is incredibly, incredibly subjective. It's so incredible. Dave, I'll say this. Look how subjective it is. You could make Roelly win the damn Arnold Spain. Technically, if you like whacked out most musculars and frontal biceps and side chest, no, he's not as hard as Bonac. No, he's not as hard as Shawn. He's kind of sort of hard enough. And he's almost arguably in a lot of poses harder than Ramy. Tell me where I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So it's subjective in the sense that if he won, we'd be talking about the crazy freak factor of the most muscular and the side chest and the side tricep when he locks it down. He's got a lot of bells and whistles that don't go really recognized. So the it's very, very subjective.
Yeah.
And you can't get pissed at the bodybuilder. You can't, because the minute you get pissed at the bodybuilder, we got nothing left in bodybuilding. You know what I mean? There's nothing. As much as fun as I love to make fun of Dexter Jackson, can you imagine he made fun of me at the press conference? He singled me out.
Yeah, well, he watches all this stuff.
He
thinks I don't like him. I like him. I always get sucked in.
Dexter Jackson.
You and your competitors, Chris. You and your competitors that have to go against Dexter.
Well, you know what? Dexter backs it up. But he backs it up. He has a big mouth and a big body. He backs it up. So all the power to him.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if he can back it up versus Phil, though. We got to replay that clip when him and Phil got into it.
Yeah.
At the press conference.
Let me just wrap up the rest of the Asia Grand Prix. Ryan Terry won the men's physique division, so that'll requalify him for next year's Olympia. And Angelica Texera, who's the new Miss Bikini Olympia, also won the bikini division there. So congratulations to those champions. And Chris, there's an interesting story. I think we should end the show with this story. Let Johnny run those things for a second while I'm pulling up the story here.
We need a kumbaya quote of the week, Dave, to calm all the nerves. And
well, Chris, next week they have the Prague EVLS show.
Who's going for the 212s? Don't tell me Flex and Hardy and Jose.
No one we know. Ronnie Raquel will be there, probably. Ricardo Correa, who's obviously a true talent, will be in that lineup. In the Open, we'll see William Bonac probably win that show. Peter Clancer will be there. Lucas Ostler will be there. Roelly Winklaar obviously also will challenge for that as well. So I see Lucas Weiler is also in that lineup. And they have a pretty nice bikini lineup there, so that's next week. I just want to show you one more. I want to go.
Yeah, you wanted to end the show on a good note or something note.
Well, I have a funny note. Yeah, I'm going to end on. But there was an Arkansas Bikini Pro also this past weekend, and Jennifer Cabin won that. So congratulations to her. But here's the story of the week, Chris. I know it's been all over social media, but I had to bring it up. Did you see the story that this guy must have got his penis stuck in a 2.5 kilogram weight? You know the little round weights that you put on the bar at the gym? He must have stuck his penis in the thing, and it got stuck in there.
And on the collar?
In the middle hole. And the firefighters had to use an angle grinder to rescue them. They had to hacksaw it out of there.
Well, he's the type of guy who's behind a keyboard saying that Phil's off. You know what I mean? He's the type of guy with probably 400 different accounts on Instagram and Facebook running around saying, you know what? I just watched the Olympia. I have Phil ninth. Dumbo gut.
As he's on his keyboard as he's got his penis in the plate, and he's and he's working it in there. On the other thing, he's commenting about Phil's gut, right? And about Hottie shouldn't have won. He's threatening Flex Lewis's family's life. As his penis has been in there for 6 hours now, and he's waiting for the ambulance to come and hacksaw the
Where's he from?
There's a great picture all over Facebook, but you can actually see the plate is in pieces. I don't know if John.
Where's he from?
He's probably. I don't know. I'm gonna look right now. I'm trying to pull it up right here on my computer.
People are nuts, dude.
People are crazy. That's it. There's a lot of crazy fucking people out there. That's the problem, Chris, with our whole freaking world. Oh, he's a German. He's a German. No, should have figured, right?
Yeah, should have figured it was a German.
Thank
Angela Merkel for that.
They had to use a hydraulic emergency tool to free him. That they used to free people from trapped cars. What is that called?
Get him on the live show, Dave, and interview him. At least do it as a mockery. You can have a big bandage and you can black out his eyes or something, and you can have someone with a fake German accent interview him. Ask him what he thought of the top four of the Mr. Olympia this year, and if Phil's gut was too big.
The fire department posted a picture of the shattered plate on social media. The fire department did. I guess that's isn't that part of the Privacy Act? You can't put that stuff up.
Yeah.
I guess in Germany it doesn't matter. If you're dumb enough to stick your penis into a dumbbell plate, you deserve to get it displayed on Facebook. Look. I wish that was the most exciting story of the week, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was a lot that went down. I'm sure we're going to see even more after next week's EVLS Prague Pro show, and as the tour continues, so to speak, it will.
Well, listen, we got the Kuwait show.
When's
coming out?
Is there? I don't think.
I don't know. But you can get Bader on with live with.
When's the Kuwait show?
I don't know. But you can get Bader to fly. Jose's going. So you get Ascanani, and then you can get, Beto put up the money, invite Flex, give Flex a big, payday to come over, and bring Hardy over.
Yeah. Now what is that, Johnny? Is that from the? That's now. Yeah. That's going on today. The IFBB Professional League, along with the Kuwait Classic, is proud to announce, along with the IFBB Pro Men's 212 and Men's Physique Contest, will offer 4 IFBB Pro cards to the overall winners of the Kuwait Classic. I don't see an open, though, Johnny.
There's a 212.
There's a 212, okay. Is Ashkenani doing that?
Oh, my goodness, I would think so.
Is Hadi doing it?
I don't know if Hadi is doing it, but, they're probably on the phone with him now, but,
I don't even know if I should say this, but I was talking to someone who was at the show. And when the name Ashkenani was brought up to Hadi, supposedly Hadi spit, like he wasn't good enough to even hear his name. So I don't know.
Well,
he obviously doesn't respect Ashkenani.
Kuwaitis and Iranians are.
They don't get along.
Well, they're not best friends. Let's put it that way.
I didn't know that.
No, because the people on the keyboards putting their penises into the weights and stuff think that all Persians are Arabs and Arabs are Persians and Afghanis are Afghanistan is the Middle East. I mean, it's all cluelessness.
Yeah, I see that the Kuwait Classic is going to be the following week, not this week and the following week. But it's not they don't have the competitor list listed. It would be interesting if Hadi goes up against Ashkenani. I'd like to see that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Jose's over there. He's going.
Oh, he's going too?
Yeah. I think Beta's. I think he talked to Beta. Beta said, if you leave Chris at home, we'll bring you. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I heard that Big Ramy sucked me down to 212. Is that true?
If Roelly had beaten, God forbid, if Roelly had beaten Rhoden yesterday.
Yeah. I heard that the Big Ramy's going to suck down to 212. Is that the truth?
Big Ramy's left thigh is like 209, so. But he said, Chris was trying to make him 212. 212. I got him down to 214 and I cobbed him back up to like 217. Can't remember. Remy would know.
Oh my God. Got a lot of shows coming up. We got the San Antonio Classic coming up October 7th.
Dave, your mind's gonna spin when you get all these shows coming up. You're gonna be like, we got the NPC, France and Spanish Grand Prix. You know what I mean?
Look, I got to do a lot of work to keep up on everything that's going on because we can't be everywhere, and so we got to there's a lot of I got to keep up on the social media gossip going on. We got to keep up on the. Luckily, I have people who call me now. Louis Marco has way more people that call him, but I do have a couple of people who call me. So
I'm going to give you a phony death threat the minute we get off the.
I think I'm going to buy one. Remember the
Instagram account.
Chris, remember the old Batman series?
I'm going to come strangle your snakes, Dave. If you don't.
you don't think
Jose's
Batman
number one
series that was on?
Huh?
Remember the old Batman series with Adam West?
Oh yeah, it was the best.
And they had the bat phone. It was this like red phone.
Yeah,
I gotta get a bat phone here. So, and I'm gonna give it to. I'm only giving the number out to certain people so they can call when they have gossip, that's going on in the sport of bodybuilding.
Well, bodybuilding's living right now on gossip. Everyone loves it. Can you imagine this? Did you know Phil just tore his quad? I mean, actually, that's not even dramatic enough.
There's no way anyone can get. It's so hard to get information first anymore because everyone just puts it out on their own social media pages.
Yeah.
I think we broke the story that Dallas died. I think we did, but it's very hard. It's very hard to get news out there. What I try to do is get accurate news out there. So rather than trying to be first, Chris, I try to assess what the real story is and then get that story out there because I think it's more important to have accurate news than to have. Just bullshit news. Think about how much I see on Facebook. They have like fake news all the time, and I don't even know what to believe. You know where I go to verify my source? I go to TMZ. How bad is that? I got to go to TMZ to see if an actor really died or not, because I figure they'll definitely have it if they died. So it's very hard nowadays to know you can make up a story about anything and people would believe it. That's the sad part.
Dave, it's bodybuilding in the social media.
Yeah.
Social media in the world right now. North Korea could, they did. They could shoot off They did, test a nuke the other day that would cause an earthquake over there. God only knows if it caused the earthquake in Mexico somehow. Yeah. But North Korea could shoot off some type of little nuclear weapon, and Kim Kardashian could get caught cheating on Kanye West. And which one do you think would be headline news?
Oh, the Kim Kardashian, absolutely, absolutely. The take-home message today is that we all love bodybuilding. We're all fans first. Chris and I are journalists second, former competitors third. And we want to see the best guys out there, the best women. We want to see the best competition, and we'll call it like we see it. We'll judge it very harshly when we're there in person. When we're not, we'll take a slightly lighter look at what's going on and make assumptions and make some conclusions based on what we see, but we know we're not seeing the whole story. And I think that's really what you guys at home that watch from your computers and your iPhones, you got to understand that it's a different show when you're there in person. So while we could all be critical and we can see patterns of the way people look, don't come to grips and make such decisions so fast, and certainly don't make violent decisions. Okay, we don't want to look like a bunch of animals. Okay, save the animal for the gym. Be your animal in the gym. Don't let your ignorance be shown by saying stupid things and threatening people's lives and stuff like that. That's not funny, especially in today's climate with the terrorism we have and people killing each other left and right all over the world. Let's try to be civilized as bodybuilders to each other, because you know what? We're all in this together. We all love the iron sport. We like to eat the food. We like to take the supplements, and that's the commonality we have. Not everyone can win a show. There's only one winner, and there's only one guy who's going to be happy at the end of the day. And I know we all have the people that we think are great and everything like that, and who we want to win, but sometimes they don't always win. I have a lot of people I work with. Chris works with a lot of guys, and when your guys don't win, you get a bad feeling inside. But you don't go out there and start bashing everyone and saying, "I'm going to kill you," and threatening their life. That's just not the way that's not the way you conduct yourself in a civilized world. So remember, the love of the sport we do this for. It's a long-term project. It's not a short-term project. Hadi will be back probably in 2 weeks at the Kuwait show, I hope. And we'll see a rematch. We'll see how Ashkenani matches up against him. And hopefully he'll be a future champion, because it's great to see new upcoming talent and excitement in our sport. And that's what it's all about, Chris.
No, I agree with you. I just don't know where I fit in now. You said we all like to lift the weights. I don't do that. Eat the food. I don't even do that.
Well, you used to do it, though.
Okay. Oh, used to. Okay.
I did preface that we're former competitors third. You're a journalist second. And we're fans first.
What am I primary? So journalist is 2, former competitor
Number
3.
1 is fan. You're a fan of the sport. Number 2, you're a journalist. And number 3,
I'm a
you're
marginal fan of the sport, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired.
You're going to give it up?
No.
My friend Justin Miller, he announced like a month ago that he wasn't going to be coaching anyone anymore next year. So I said to him, he always texts me 100 times a day. I'm like, Justin, I thought you said you're not coaching anymore. He goes, I was in a bad mood that day. so we can't get away. We try to escape, but we can't get away from the sport that we love, and that's the bottom line. And that's all we got today. Remember, guys, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
We'll see you next week.